Howdy, all you addicts out there. Welcome again to another Angler Circle discussion. We're going to be talking some trophy walleye and what constitutes to be a real trophy walleye. We've got TJ Hester and Tyler Miller in the house, our kind of resident pros from the east side of Washington here. And, there's always a lot of discussions, and I see this with my clients and stuff throughout the years, of like what trophy walleye is and what it actually could mean and what this developing, we'll call it a developing fishery in the Columbia River actually means to some of these big numbers and these giant fish that you guys post up. So I want you guys to explain to the audience just a little bit, like, what are you guys considering a trophy walleye? Where like our state records lie, and why is this walleye fishery not as like robust as it is in the Midwest? And then also add a little bit to it, like, okay, what, like the conservation of it a little bit too, because there's a lot of like self-regulation that you guys have kind of put on yourself as guides and anglers over there to try to keep this fishery going, even though it sounds like, it's going to be a pretty stable fishery. We got some to come. So with that said, large fish, trophy walleye. That's a lot of questions. Well, I just want to start it off. We got a long discussion here. So what's trophy walleye? I mean,
for us on the Columbia, it's tough to say. Everyone has a different, definition of that. Mm-hmm. For us, there's it's double layered. There's teeners, right? Which everyone talks about, they want a teener walleye. Teener walleye is a once in a lifetime fish. Over here,
walleye, 13.
So, over here, we're talking trophies. We want something 16 and up, 15 and up, 16 and up. And now, I'm sorry, I know a lot of Midwest guys, maybe your back east guys, or maybe guys over here are like, shut up. You're talking, like, you guys might get one, every 5 years. No.
It's an everyday occurrence kind of thing almost.
I wouldn't say everyday occurrence. You have a chance at one every day, for sure.
Every day. So, why is the teener so significant? Because over here, I see you posting pictures of teeners and a lot of the guys all the time, but...
It's like, let's take it on a salmon standpoint. A lot of people, you catch a nice big chrome 20-pound buck, it's like, this is awesome. But for us, it's like, well, this is just what we do over here. So we don't want to get away from being spoiled. A teener is still an awesome walleye, no matter what river system or body of water you're in. So we don't want to take anything away from that. That's still a once-in-a-lifetime fish. It's just here, we're definitely in the land of the giants. I'm not going to say that we're the number one fishery in the world, because we're not. But, man, I have a hard time arguing with someone that says that we're not the number one trophy fishery. I have a hard time believing that we're not the place where you can get a giant.
No, when we're talking giants, so like the guys in Midwest, they want to see teeners. You guys see teeners all the time. There's been reports and been talk that there's been unconfirmed cases of some 23s and 26s and just some unreal fish caught in either tribal nets or caught and got a little antsy and hit the barbecue before they've been weighed. So there's been rumors and there's been pictures of that kind of stuff out there. But
again, all that is rumor. We're not going to put any, we're not going to put any backbone behind that. But gosh, with how many tales we've heard and from guys like, that work for the state, there's some legitimacy
What's the biggest one you've ever put in the boat?
My biggest is 17.2. And we've had just this last week and a half, we had a 16.8, we had a 14.3, we had a 10. We have a 16.2, we have I want to say a 16.4. We have some big fish, but I wouldn't say that, my boat doesn't set the bar for over here. There was a gentleman that came over last year that got an 18.4. I know of a 19 that got caught last year.
Yeah, I remember I was around 19.1, and isn't like this Washington state record is
20.32.
20.32, and caught probably out of the same.
Right where you fished.
Yeah, right where this guy told me to go for a week. Yeah. So with that said, there's big fish. There's been some bigger fish, like I said, caught in tribal nets. Some that have shown up dead.
Yep.
But so what's the draw for these guys that are coming back from these other areas? Like, because I know with some of my clientele, they've walleye fished all their life and they've yet to break like a 6 or an 8-pounder, where we even break that down in my neck of the woods in the lower Columbia quite often.
Yeah. So
you're you're attracting those guys out there and coming in and to actually experience like this real trophy fishery. What is for someone who was interested in doing this, like what can they expect on a day of trophy hunting for you guys?
I would say, for numbers wise, you might not get as much, but the ones we do catch seem to all be around the 8-pound, 8 and up. And you'll definitely catch smaller ones, but it seems like as a majority, you're getting just an overall better quality fish. as in pound wise.
Yeah, there's a lot more. I mean, there's a lot more water, there's a lot more food.
I was just going to say, why is that? Why now and why not 40 years ago?
Where we're at, there's a lot of food, and not just
Freshwater
one,
shrimp,
just one certain kind. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's shrimp, there's bait fish all around. You caught a lamprey the
eels.
other day.
Yeah, there's everything, and there's so much water. We call it the playground. You know, where we took you, and it's a reason because I mean, as you saw, looking at your depth finder, it's like, oh, I could fish here, I could fish here. The whole thing is littered with areas that you could fish.
We probably caught teeners in 5 different spots this winter. So
exactly. I mean, it's a whole lot of water, for sure.
And it is kind of daunting because, like I said, I've gone over there and I've experienced this trophy fishery just with my own boat, but literally just puppy dogging this guy for like 5 or 6 days straight. And you're right, you can get lost in how much area it is, but just knowing that those fish are all around that pool is pretty incredible. But you say there's a lot of food, and you say there's a lot of food, and you're getting all these big fish, but the guides have been like a little bit self-regulating too. You want to talk a little bit about that? Because right now, for those that don't know, like on the Columbia River where we're fishing, there is no limit set. Like, there's no limit set. You can kill as many walleye as your boat can physically bring back to the dock. And some days you probably could sink your boat catching not trophy walleye, but numbers walleye.
Definitely.
Talk a little bit about like kind of the self-regulation and why it really is a catch and kill fishery.
You know, I guess you asked before, you know, what's kind of your expectations for coming out here? If you want a shot at one, realistically, you need to get 4 days. So I just wanted to backtrack a little bit just to go, guys are thinking, oh,
they're not jumping in the boat, chewing the paint off the side of the boat.
No.
Right?
I mean, again, you know, this last week and a half, we had a 14-3 and a 16-8 back-to-back. And my guys are like, "Are you kidding me? Like this is not normal."
Where were those guys from?
One was here local, and one was from up in the valley.
Oh, okay.
So and it was cool is they've heard, you know, I guess going back to conservation, they've heard my preaches and kind of how we want to handle these fisheries, and they completely get it. You know, if the state's not going to regulate it, we need to, and the fishermen need to be the voice of kind of how this works, and we don't have. Let's go back to the Midwest. You know, your Lake Sakakawea, your Missouri River, a lot of those systems have hatcheries built in the rivers for walleye. And
walleye hatcheries.
Isn't that unbelievable?
That's awesome.
Here, that's not. It's all natural. So the broodstock fish that we get, you know, the 4 to 8 pounders are the real important ones.
Yeah.
And then the trophies, of course, are important too. But don't forget about the average females as well. And those are ones that breed the whole stock, and they're the ones that are really important for the system. And we need to keep those fish in the system.
And there's probably a hell of a lot more of them too.
Yeah, and I'm not so concerned.
So what's your guys' rule then? So you don't kill like
you have
where's your limit? Like where do you guys kind of put it? Because like basically the state has come by and said, okay, these walleye to the Columbia River Basin are actually a non-native species. And a lot of times where non-native species show up, you know, since it's kind of out of the balance thing, those fish tend, if they adapt kind of in the wrong way, their populations can explode, and that's what you're literally looking at. So what's like your guidelines as far as like what you don't kill versus what you do versus what you allow a client to take?
24 inches is kind of our buffer. I mean, male or not, if it's over 24, that's a good genetic. I want that fish in the river.
Usually put those ones back.
Now, for sheer numbers, as we talked earlier, there's days where we can plug the whole thing, just like any river system or any fishery it is. But
seems like
if we're
5 a person,
taking
home 5 is still a lot of meat.
Still a lot of walleye.
Yeah, and I even limited that down less. So I just say my max is 25 per boat. And if you get now, if you have 6 guys, whatever, that's a lot of fish.
Yeah, you're not. These guys aren't fishing, 1 and 2 individuals. You guys are fishing 5 and 6.
Yeah, and then when the state did regulate it, there was 10 per person. So initially we thought, okay, well, if the state did it, it's probably a good rule of thumb to be around. After
sure about that?
Yeah, after a couple of days of that, like, okay, this is wrong, and then. Well, one, if you ever flayed more than 25 walleye, it's not fun at all. I mean, I don't care how awesome my Gerber knife is, that's not going to fly. But, I mean, the other thing is just, that's a whole lot of meat. You know what I mean? It's just not necessary. Let's keep the fishery where it is. Let's keep the fish in the river. Let's keep the system going. I want my kids to see a trophy fishery one day. Yeah. It's more important in the long run.
More important than just slamming and killing 12-pounders and putting them on the wall.
Let's be realistic right now. What's the kind of the doom and gloom? Salmon runs, right?
All right.
So hey, let's just kill the next best thing. Let's kill the trophy walleye fishery. That's genius. Let's just back ourselves way into the corner.
If we get rid of all the walleye and the salmon, we'll have nothing.
There you go. Then they'll pay more for our licenses. Yeah.
We can go bird watching.
There you go.
Right. Dang. Well, that's super cool. Anything else you guys want to add, like, to this, like, trophy fishing? Because, like, I mean, I've only gone up and experienced once, and you're right. It was a tough day. We were fishing
Cold.
giant, cold. The guys from Minnesota, or no, they were from North or South Dakota. They didn't even care. It didn't even phase them. I was freezing.
It's like summer.
Oh yeah, they were totally dialed up. But I mean, anything else you want to add to it? You're doing a lot of jigging, you're doing a lot of plug fishing. I mean, giant freaking big old stick bait plugs and.
Yeah, I mean, if you come out, I mean, you know, one, please try to respect our fishery. You know, we try to do the same thing for you guys. And next thing is, you know, come out hoping for a big one, but don't expect a big one. You still got to fish for it, no matter what fishery you go for. Yeah, I mean, it's still a once in a lifetime fish, no matter what. And we'd love to have you out. It'd be awesome. There's a whole big Columbia River here, right for the picking. You know, down from where we are right now up to where I live. The whole system's full of big walleye.
That's cool. Why don't you guys comment below what the biggest walleye you guys have caught? I mean, maybe I'm off base. Maybe everybody in the country has caught these teener walleye, and we're just sitting over here in Washington thinking nobody else has. But I mean, I know there's a lot of big walleye out there. Yeah. But I also know that I've talked to a lot of people that, you know, like the 6-pounders, like kind of like their trophy class for the lake that they fish. So it's a super interesting topic. So like I said earlier, comment below. Comment with your biggest walleye you guys have ever caught. And if you're not even tuning in from the area, let us know where you're tuning in from if you'd like to come out here and do some fishing with these guys. You can message our main board, and don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you guys later.